So, the question for me is such a backhanded question. What satisfaction do you get from playing a lot of easy games that require very minimal challenge? What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Platinum Podcast, where we talk about all things gaming, all things PlayStation, and all things trophies. I'm your host, Lewis, also known as Platinumbro on the internet, and I am joined by my good friend and my co-host, Joel, also known as Guy Farruski. How you doing, Joel?
I'm doing hungry. I'm also hungry for questions.
Joel already knows. So today we're going to be doing a special episode where we're going to be doing a Q&A with the boys, us two. So I put out the feelers, the questions, the opportunity to ask questions, and we got quite a few questions. Hopefully we'll get through most of them. And that's going to be pretty much the bulk of the questions of the podcast, shall I say. And we've got a lot of them, and it's going to be good fun. Before we do that, we will do our usual games we've been playing. But before we do that, we're going to have a word from our sponsor.
Welcome to the Platinum Podcast. No, this is this is FAP, aka Farruski's Anime Podcast.
So that's right, guys. We have started another podcast, which is FAP, Farruski's Anime Podcast. Joel, why don't you take us away and explain a little bit about this podcast?
It's basically just to talk about anime. It was originally, as you know, just meant to be like a video series where I talk about anime and, you know, my experiences with what I've watched, this, that, and the other. But I think it's better with a podcast because instead of having one opinion, you can have different opinions from different people, and especially different opinions from different people with different anime backgrounds, which is why you're a perfect co-host, because you're not very well, until you met me, you weren't very like deep into anime. You just watched like the basic, what probably everybody watches like growing up.
Yeah, definitely just Dragon Ball Z and like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon for me. Yeah. I think it's good because like me and Steve, so Steve's the other co-host, we are quite novice in relation to anime, so it's good going in. And in this first episode we talked about Naruto, which is me and Steve have just watched the first half of the season. Joel's basically grown up on Naruto or watched a lot of it over the past 10 years, so it's like these bouncing contrasting ideas about people who are new to the series to someone is like an OG, loves it to death. And it's a really interesting idea. I love anime now, and we've started our episode 2, which is going to be a good episode as well, about a more modern anime. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's all in all, it's really exciting. You should definitely go check it out. The link will be down below, and listen to us ramble some more, because clearly if you like watching us on here, you probably like listening to us ramble about anything. And anime is a good topic. It's a good topic, and they're way better edited than this podcast.
Don't take the name literally either, because I've seen a lot of comments about the name. I mean, FAP is just the abbreviation. There's actually there was one person that mentioned that, you know, the abbreviations of FAP and the abbreviations of the Platinum Podcast go well together because PP.
True.
So, you know, this wasn't planned, by the way. This was just
fate.
It was coincidental. It just works.
All right. On that, before we get into our meaty topic of today, what games have you been playing this week, Joel?
None. I've not had the time. I've just been watching anime. Actually, I got really like into Bleach. I'm almost finished with Bleach because they're releasing a new season soon, which is like. They ended it like really badly, apparently. So I just want to know like how bad it was in the ending. I'm almost finished with it, and then I'll move on to whatever I have next. But I've also started with the our little project. Watched the first 2 episodes, and it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm enjoying it.
So no Devil May Cry 5 this week.
No, I had to take a break from that. I think a lot of commitment and mental preparation is needed to jump back into it. I got a bit frustrated last time.
Yeah, I've heard. And Joe would like text us, me and Steve have like a group chat, and he's just like, it's meant to be for the anime podcast, but it pretty much has anything in. And Joel like just texts us every day, like, oh, I can't, like, screw this game, I can't beat it, or I finally beat it. So I mean, you haven't had any Devil May Cry 5 texts, so I should have known you haven't been playing it. To be fair, I have been playing Remnant from the Ashes still. Really good game. Honestly, it's a surprisingly good game.
Is it?
For being free, and it's got such good third-person shooter mechanics. It's like a randomly generated game, so yeah, you know what, I've had to play through certain like worlds so many times to get trophies. So each world, there's like 5 worlds. Each one lasts about 2 hours on your first attempt. Your second attempt, about 30 minutes. If you know where you're going, even though it's randomly generated, each world probably was only like generated like maybe 4 or 5 different times. But it's still really good.
Is it New Game Plus you do?
Well, no, you can do New Game Plus. It's like called re-rolling the campaign. So you can re-roll the campaign and the enemies get harder. But until then, you can there's like an adventure mode where you can just go back and play worlds for like trophies and stuff.
Right.
So that's kind
I was
of what
thinking
I'm doing.
that.
But there's also a survival mode, which is brutal. If you imagine a Child's Dungeons, but you don't get any armor. And basically, if you imagine Child's Dungeons, but you get given, say, 5,000 blood echoes to upgrade your character and to buy weapons, and then basically every time you finish a boss, you get given like a little bit more money to upgrade your character and buy new weapons again. That's how it is. So it's like you don't have any of your in-game stats. You get dropped on this world, and you can buy like a power up in a weapon, and then by the time you get through the first world, which is like an hour, you can buy a bit of armor and some health, and then it's like, and you have to do 10 bosses in a row without dying or without losing, and that's for a trophy. So
no,
yeah, it's you can do it 3-player though. So obviously it's like Bloodborne games, Soulsborne games, where the more players, the more health the bosses have, and the more bosses, the more enemies they are. So
I suppose it's easier to manage though, isn't it? Because one could technically be bait. I heard I heard as well you get a lot of mobs with the bosses. Is that true?
Oh,
every boss has a mob.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say.
That's annoying.
It's like every time they get down to about half health, they just release the mobs, and you're like, oh god, and it's hard by yourself, really hard. So I'm working on that with a couple of friends. I've tried it myself. It's really tough. But that's pretty much all I've been playing. I played Kick-Ass 2 because, for those who don't know, everyone does know, the PS3 stores are closing down, and so is the PS Vita. So it's like motivated me to want to play some of the older games. Goodbye, hurrah. So on that, I went and bought Kick-Ass 2 on the PS3 because I wanted to play it for a long time, and it is absolutely garbage, and I'm glad I finished it. Oh, it's so bad. It's like,
is it based on the movie or the comics?
It's based on the movie. It's like
a
movie tie-in film, and it's literally got all these like just people who like don't have American accents, like people who, it feels like some people in like some European country have made it and haven't got like American voice actors, and they just voiced it themselves. So it's got all these like European accents voiced on all these American kids. It's kind of off-putting, but also the game generally is just horrendous. You can just run past the enemies, so it's like a beat 'em up where you can run past enemies.
It's a beat 'em up that you don't actually have to beat them up.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend that one, to be honest. I played it so you don't have to. It's not worth it. It is only like a 6-hour platinum, but it's not the best. If you like Kick-Ass 2, you might have a bit of an hour fun with it, which I did. I love Kick-Ass. I love Kick-Ass 1 and 2. They're great movies. Like they're not as good now, but I think when they came out before the superhero stuff really took off, I thought they were badass. So
I think it's because they were so like R-rated.
Yeah.
Because the superhero movies then they were all like 12s.
Yeah, like Avengers.
You didn't see a lot of, and then Kick-Ass came and you saw like blood, and you saw like what would happen in the real world if somebody decided I want to be a superhero. This is what would happen, guys.
Yeah, you'd
not
get your
pretty.
ass kicked. Really. And I had that little kid girl just dropping the C word every 2 minutes and stuff. Yeah. It was just so funny. Right. So, the Q&A. Let's begin.
The Q&A.
Joel doesn't know any of these questions. I texted him last night at like 11 o'clock. I was like, by the way, it's like 8, 9 in the morning. I was like, oh, Joel, do you want to hear any of these questions? He's like, should we? And I was like, well, I'm just going to wing it. And he's like, okay, we'll wing it. So, we'll just see how this goes, shall we? So,
I'm sure we'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, the way it worked is I'm going to go through the patrons first. There's about 15 of those questions. Then we'll go on to general YouTube submission. So that was only out for a little bit. You may, if you watch this stuff, you may have missed the Q&A drop. That's only because it was only out for about 3 hours, and I got so many questions. I just thought there's no way I'll be able to get through these ones, so I don't want to keep it open for another day or something, just so I don't end up answering your questions because people would be annoyed, which isn't fair on everybody else. So next time there's a Q&A, you'll get your chance. So, Pub N Beagles asks Joel the first question: what upcoming game are you the most excited to play on the PS5?
Oh, I mean, upcoming. I don't have a PS5. See, they just keep stabbing me in the heart. Like, so, what would your PS5?
If you got a PS5, what would your first game be then?
Probably Demon Souls.
So, fair enough.
Probably Demon Souls. Yeah.
Okay.
If it's like upcoming, like that's not released yet, I'd probably say like maybe Horizon Zero.
Okay.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
See, I'm not excited for Horizon Zero that much.
I know.
I'm just not that bothered. I think it'll be good. I probably won't buy it at launch. And that'll pretty much be it. If it's like, it's just going to be more of the same as Horizon Zero Dawn, which I did enjoy. But I also just think it was, take it or leave it, to be honest. What I am excited for is 2 games. And one is a bit hit and miss. I'm a bit skeptical, and that is Gotham Knights. I think the premise is really good, but if it's going to be like Avengers, it's just going to be garbage. But an open world 4-player game could be really amazing if it's done well. You know, you've got Nightwing, Red Hood, Robin, and Batgirl. All 4 of them interchangeable characters. I think it could be a really good premise. But whether or not it delivers, I mean, it's been delayed until 2022 now. It looks fantastic graphically, but time will tell. I think the Batman Arkham Asylum sort of free flow combat is really good, and I think it's got a lot of promise. We'll just have to see.
Yeah.
And the next one is Shifu, which is a martial arts game. So it's like it kind of reminds me of like Daredevil fight scenes and the hallway fight scenes in Netflix. If you've watched them, it's like a third-person martial arts game, and you basically just go around like doing like kung fu and stuff, fighting people. It looks badass, like really cool.
Okay. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, it was like low-key revealed at one of the events about 2 months ago. I was going to make a video on it, but I just haven't had time. It looks pretty badass, I have to say. It's just like do you know what, the Absolver? Did you ever see anything to do with that? That was a martial arts game.
Yeah, I've seen like little clips of that. That was an indie game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It was the same devs, so the people who've made that have made this, and the combat in Absolver looked pretty good. I haven't played it, but so yeah. So
I think people should make more martial arts games.
I agree.
I love the martial arts in Sleeping Dogs.
Yeah,
back then it was something new and it was something different, and it was so good. It was so refreshing to just like your basic, you know, punching, kicking. You know, to have a bit of technique behind like the movements is. Yeah,
they took I think what was already well established in terms of like, you know, generic fighting, melee and reverse attacks, but then they just added it, took it to the next level. They had all these really brutal animations, like throwing kids and like you grab guys and throw them in like fans, couldn't you? Like and stuff. It was very unethical for an undercover cop to be doing. Like undercover cop killed like 50 people.
He was taking his job seriously. It was undercover as a triad. He's like, I've got to be brutal. I've got to be ruthless.
Yeah, true. Commit to the cause. Yeah. All right. Next one. So there's actually the way to work with Patreon is the people have asked more than one question, which I'm absolutely fine with. Which is, so it's the same person saying a game that is popular that you can't that you want to like but can't get into.
Skyrim. Straight away.
Say it again to my face.
It's the only one. I get so much. I get this from everybody. Everybody I speak to. Like, everybody I answer this. I get this. I get this. How dare you?
You've insulted
this
my
is why it's always going to be my answer.
What can't you? How can't you get into it?
I don't know. It was just weird. Like I think I expected it to be different than what it was. First of all, when I picked it up, I'm not really a big first person fan. So that's probably the major thing that put me off about it, was being first person. And then I like collecting things. I like grabbing everything. And like in Skyrim, you can grab everything, but then there's a wait. And like after I grabbed everything, like you start in a cave or something.
Yeah.
And I tried grabbing like everything, like plates, like forks. I'll sell all these and it'll be useful. And then I got to like halfway. I couldn't move. You're too heavy. You're too overburdened. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I kind of gave up on that point. I was like, I want to collect everything.
Fair enough. Fair. Okay, I would say I'm not too sure. I feel like I'm just a sheep. I like most things that are generally well received. I like. So I think it's hard to answer this question. The only one that's really coming to mind is probably Far Cry. I played Far Cry 3. That was like the pinnacle. And I went back and played it last year or the year before, and yeah, it hasn't aged well, but I just don't really like the open world aimlessness of it. It's like, you know, you get put in this like really beautiful place, and then it's like, okay, clear camps, do some shooting stories, and I just feel like it's just it's not like that I necessarily like linear games, because I really like Skyrim. I like GTA, and those games can be the sandboxes. They're open. I just think for some reason I think it's probably the first person open world stuff, first person shooter stuff doesn't really click with me that much. However, I do like Fallout, so it's just something about Far Cry just doesn't really. I just can't get into it. And I think
there's not a lot of variety in Far Cry. That's what it is. Like, you know, sandbox games usually, which is probably like a problem with a lot of open world games, is that there's not enough variety, and developers they'll just stuff as much content as possible, thinking the more they do, the better it is. But it's not. Like if you haven't got different activities, you're just going to be bored.
Yeah,
you're better off selecting certain activities making them scarce but meaningful, rather than stuffing a game full of the same thing that you have to do over and over and over again. It just feels the same.
Yeah, I agree. I like that's a good thing about Remnants. I'm going to sing Remnants praise a little bit here. Is the loot drops really, really infrequent. So when you find loot, you're like, oh my god, there's loot there. Like it takes you 10 minutes to clear one like little mini map before you move to the next one. There'll be one rare item in the whole map.
Right.
There'll be maybe a little bit of like upgrade and stuff, but there's one rare item per map. So when you find it, like, oh my god, right, I found it. It's not like other games where you'll pick up like 12 swords through a 10-minute period of time. It's like no, you'll find one rare item per level, and it makes it way more meaningful. So I totally get that. Okay, this is a good one. This is a trophy hunting one. So there's a mixture, guys. There's a mixture of like random funny ones. There's a mixture of just generic game ones and then trophy hunting ones. So should developers respect people's time and stop with 300-hour platinums?
It depends. It depends on how you achieve the platinum. If it's like a game that, for example, Dragon Quest, it's not 300 hours, but it's an example. Dragon Quest, most of the game is the time you play. So and then you got other games like Monster Hunter World,
or Red Dead 2,
or Red Dead 2, which is grind and grind and grind. So there's two different types. Like The Witcher 3, for example, is another one like Dragon Quest. It's also most of the game is a story and the side quest, and it's interesting to do. So
I want to say yes.
Hard one.
I think 300 hours is too long. For example, Devil May Cry 5 is probably a 150 hour platinum because it's skill. So there comes a point when you either can or can't do it. So it's like 60 hours in, you're going to throw in the towel. Some people aren't good enough. Some people could pay for 1,000 hours and not get it. But that's like, I'm not saying that's a bad trophy list. I'm saying that's actually kind of like, you don't need to have a 300-hour platinum trophy. You don't need to have a 300-hour list for it to be a good list. And like, Dragon Quest is a 100-hour platinum. And you're right, you play 85 hours of it. You're playing the game. And the last 15 hours can be a bit tedious towards the end. But that's still a good list. And if that was 300 hours, I probably still wouldn't like it. Well, no, I love Dragon Quest 11. I wouldn't have liked it if it was 300 hours. Imagine playing 100 hours of Dragon Quest, then 200 hours of grind. Like,
realistically, there's not many 300-hour platinums really out there, is there?
No,
I mean, Monster Hunter World comes to mind, and then the other one that comes to mind is like Fortnite, like multiplayer-heavy games.
I think the question really, though, I know it's a bit of a joking one, is that kind of like, should developers just generally appreciate and respect people's time?
I'd say even it out.
Yeah.
Because I think nowadays there's a lot of games. I think there's too many games that are long. There's not many games now that you could just pick up, play the story, and then that's it. There's always like more. They always want you to invest more and more time. I think if it was more scarce, like if it was like one big 100-hour game between every like 5, it would have been more acceptable.
I suppose that's down to the player, isn't it? Then the players to balance their time and play the bigger games with the shorter games as well. I think Days Gone is a really good example of respecting the player's time, because they have like trophies like collect 30% of all collectibles. That is the only trophy to do with collectibles. Like, I think that's really, really good, because no one wants to spend 10 hours of their time going through the game to get collectibles. Like, even if you love the game, it's still not ideal. Like God of War had the Ravens, and although I love that game, but it's still kind of like you spend an extra 5-6 hours of your time going collecting Ravens, thinking, why? But then again, it comes down to this game as why are we doing it? But why then people then making these these frustrating trophy lists? Because although the whole list as a general wasn't frustrating, that trophy was, and it's like, I'm going to do it because I'm trophy hunter, but maybe if you just didn't do it, have it in, because collectibles. What do collectibles achieve? Especially if they're just like a Raven. Like The Last of Us Part 2 had too many collectibles, but all the collectibles, most of them had something to do with the story. Like it was like a note to tell you about something. I think that's acceptable, but not when it's just like, okay, find 50 coins with no reference. Yeah. You're like, right, why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing
no meaning? It's got no meaning.
It's a good one. The next one. Okay, Naruto or Dragon Ball Z? Which anime is better? This podcast is only not 2 hours long max. We're gonna be here for like 3 hours.
I'd say Naruto. It's a lot deeper than Dragon Ball. Don't get me wrong, just because I said Naruto does not mean I like Dragon Ball Z less. I just think between the two, Naruto, it goes deeper. Dragon Ball is basically rinse and repeat. Naruto goes a bit deeper into like feelings and real world problems.
Fair enough. I don't know if I can give a fair decision because I feel like I'm watching Naruto now and I'm loving it, and it's like recency, but is it recency bias where you're watching something now and you think it's amazing, and I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z for ages, and I don't know, like I do like Naruto, and I remember watching Dragon Ball Z, hating the fillers because Dragon Ball Z is all about like strength, power, big battles. In the fillers, like Goku, like with Chi-Chi eating his lunch is really boring. But like I've started watching, like for example in Naruto, I've started watching the films as well alongside Joe. We had this conversation recently and you were like, well, it's a filler. I was like, well, actually I like the fillers in Naruto because I feel like part of Naruto is like following him as a kid as he gets better, and every single filler is him improving. And even like the first film is like a one-off story about that, like the land of ice, a land of snow or something, and it's like it's just about them like on an adventure, and it's like, but it's showing them how they're getting better and stronger, and because of that, I've really enjoyed the fillers, and I think that's the difference between Naruto and Dragon Ball Z at the minute. So,
yeah, I can see. I just think Naruto just have too many fillers. I don't mind them. Like if it was like, because the thing about Dragon Ball is, although the fillers are boring, there's not many of them.
Yeah.
You only get like 4 or 5 episodes maybe of fillers between every saga.
Yeah.
Whilst Naruto, they'll stuff like loads. Like you'll have 10, 50. You'll have like a filler arc where they do a whole arc of just filler.
Yeah.
In between the story, and I think that's what it's just.
Do you know
it
why?
Makes it too much.
Do you know why there's so much filler or not?
It's because they need to keep up with the manga.
Yeah, apparently it's like because they're actually making it faster than the manga or something, so they finished it so quickly that they had to wait and they want to keep making episodes. So that's why they're technically not canon. But also that we had this discussion. I don't really care. Like it's canon to me. Who cares? I make up my own rules.
Everything is canon.
Everything is canon.
That's fair.
But because I'm never going to read the manga, so I'm just going to it's canon to me.
That.
And I'm probably I can't decide. I feel like I can't decide because I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z in a long time. So I'm going to say I can't decide. I can't answer that one, unfortunately.
That's fair.
Okay. Next questions come from Face Palmer, and he says, if you could bring back a game and add trophy support to it, what would it be? So talking about a game from PS1, PS2, or early PS3.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I did warn Joel, some of these questions require quite a lot of thought.
Do you want to take that? Do you want to take this one first? You may have been more prepared. I need to go deep in my memory.
I have this problem where I can't really remember what I used to play on PS1 and PS2. So like every time I think of a PS2 game, I'm like, oh, that was absolutely banging. I really loved that game, and then I think, actually, that can't be the only game I played. So, one game that really sticks out, that to my head, that I loved on the PlayStation 2, was Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. I think that was one of the games that actually made me a gamer. So I think I would love to have that game, although it would never happen because of rights to movies, rights to films. I think it was EA who made it as well. But I would love to have that game remastered and released because it was a co-op hack and slash game. It was so good with RPG elements like leveling up and stuff. It was brilliant. I loved it. So
it was
for me.
It was one of the best movie tie-ins I think.
I think it was. Yeah, it was
because they're so rare.
I just remember so much. I remember
I'll tag with you on that one.
Yeah,
I was the same as yours.
I generally remember you play as Gandalf, Gimli, Aragorn, Legolas.
Legolas, yeah.
By the end, it was Merry, Sam, Faramir was an unlockable character.
Yeah, he was.
You had defend the gate, do Minas Tirith. You had to do the West Gate, which is just hundreds of enemies on the screen.
Yeah,
and then the Black Gate at the end.
I remember after you finished the story, you could play the levels with every character.
Yeah.
Every character has specific skills, although the combos were the same, like the heavy combos and stuff. Like all the characters had their own specific skill set with their weapons and stuff. Because Legolas had the dual wielding swords, I think. Aragorn was a two-handed. Then you obviously had Gimli with the axe. It was just so good.
Yeah, I agree.
It was awesome.
So that's the answer to the first question.
Great choice.
Okay. Oh, this is another hard one. To be fair, it's not. But which game do you think is the most underrated? Just games that you think are underrated.
Platform.
Just a game that you think is underrated. We'll just say.
Underrated.
I'm going to start with and just say Dragon Quest XI. It's the first Dragon Quest game I've ever played, and I thought it was so good. I think not enough people know about this game series and how good it is.
It
is pretty.
It's only underrated in the West, though. It's quite big in quite big in Japan.
Yeah, but I think people over here just don't appreciate it for what it is. It's amazing.
That's true.
I can't think of any though.
I don't know. I've got like a I got. I don't think. I think all the games I've played, they're all pretty. They're all pretty popular anyway.
I mean, obviously, The Witcher's underrated because it couldn't be. Obviously, it's the scoreboard 10 out of 10 just doesn't do it justice. So The Witcher 3 is always underrated, but it just have its own scoreboard.
I can't think of anything. Maybe Legend of Dragoon. I still want a remaster for that game. It was like a Final Fantasy back in like the PS1, but like Final Fantasy, you can summon Aeons, which is like special beasts to fight for you. And then Legend of Dragoon, you had like a transformation. You transform into like this big warrior with dragon scales and stuff. It was great.
Well, there you go.
You've never heard of it, see?
What you talking about? Okay, next one. If you could play and replatinum any game, what would it be?
The Witcher 3.
The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I need to platinum it still, so just every time this comes up, I just feel like so much shame on me for not finishing it. Mine would be Marvel Spider-Man, and obviously I'm going to get a chance to do it on the PS5. So
yeah.
If that wasn't the case, God of War. I did really enjoy God of War. I just thought the Platinum Trophy list was decent. It didn't take too much away from the game, and that's what I like in a trophy list that just enhances the game to some degree. And even if you have to replay, you do a little bit of collectibles, but I probably wouldn't have even done the Valkyries if it wasn't for the trophies. So
I think God of War, it's a good trophy list. It just got a bit grindy when you have to do the, I think it's Nilfheim, the foggy area.
Yeah, but it wasn't too bad. I think as someone who's grinded out loads, and you have as well, to be fair, I think it's a 40-hour platinum, and I think I played games that are twice as grindy as that, so I think it was like a manageable amount of grind, is what I would say.
That's fair.
Okay, next one. What is a good food or drink to have when going for a platinum?
Oh, pizza has to be.
I don't really eat when I game. It's really weird. I eat a lot of food when I watch TV. For me, it's generally just coffee. Like I just want to drink coffee all the time. So I think if I'm gaming, I kind of just want coffee, and that's really it.
I think pizza's just convenient.
Just,
not oily pizza, because you want something that's not. Like a lot of people say crisps, but crisps you get the crumbs in your fingers, and then you get grease all over your control. You don't want that. Like, I'd say have like a roll of napkins, a pizza, and then you grab a pizza, have a slice, wipe your fingers on that napkin, carry on playing.
You've thought this through.
Like,
no, I feel like I'm quite like when I eat, I just like to just not be active. So when I'm gaming's too involved for me when I eat, so it's literally just a case of just drinking coffee because coffee is absolute god, and that's pretty much it.
Coffee and pizza.
Coffee and pizza.
Together.
Coffee, I feel like, is more sweet. I can have coffee with a sandwich, but I would always have coffee as like a dessert. I'd be like, okay, I'll have some juice with my sandwich. I'll have a coffee afterwards.
That.
Coffee's a god. Coffee's king. Okay, let's move on to some more questions. We'll get rid of these now. Bloop. Okay. This is a philosophical one almost, Joel.
Okay. If
you had one game or one franchise to play for the rest of your life, what would it be? This is hard. You talk like if you're stuck on Desert Island and you had one game to play, what would it be? Because you need a game that's going to be incredibly replayable.
I'd probably say just one game. Just one franchise.
We'll say one game.
One game. Devil May Cry 5.
Really?
It'll take me a while to platinum. Yeah, I'll probably take the rest of my life to platinum.
Oh, fair enough.
I'll use that as an example, a literal one.
I feel like I would want to go for an open world game where I can explore and have a bit more replayability.
But then the replayability, once you've completed it, don't forget it's the rest of your life. There's years.
But maybe something that's more like a sandbox. Maybe something stupid like Minecraft. Because then you can play it for
Minecraft would be a good shout, actually.
It's endless. So what you can do is endless. So there's a few ideas I thought of, and I thought FIFA. Although you might say FIFA, it's not, I like football, and football is replayable, so it's you can keep replaying it. Or Skyrim
is a good show.
Open world.
I'd say FIFA actually.
Yeah, and then finally maybe Red Dead 2, because it's such a big game. There's so much to do in it. But then for the rest of your life, you can probably stretch Red Dead 2 out to 1,000 hours, and I think this Skyrim probably more. If you'd have finished Skyrim, you're looking at 200 hours, and you could replay it in different builds, doing different things. So there's definitely a lot of replayability to Skyrim.
So why Red Dead and not GTA? Because I'd say, wouldn't GTA give you more variety.
I'd probably say just because GTA Red Dead has maybe Red Dead 2 has more like it's more well tuned, but maybe GTA in terms of the online would actually be better.
Yeah. Because the GTA, there's not GTA, Red Dead. There's going to be a limited amount of things you'll be able to do. There's always going to be that cowboy scene, isn't it? With GTA, you can just mess around, you can get a plane, and
I actually think I would say FIFA. Despite me not liking EA, I think if I only play one game forever, it would be a football game because it's so replayable. You can just keep doing it. That or Skyrim, I think for me.
Agree. I'd say Devil May Cry 5 and FIFA as well.
Okay. This is one you can't relate to. So, what are your thoughts on the new Marvel Avengers update? It's terrible. I'll just quickly say it doesn't add anything new. Yes, obviously Hawkeye and Kate Bishop are there. They're basically very similar characters, and they play well. The rest of the game is utter garbage, and it just reinforces the fact that when you do it, you just play as Hawkeye. You think this game's pretty. You know, why am I thinking this game was as bad as it was? And then as soon as you go on a level, a mission, you think, oh yeah, this game sucks ass. And that's all I really want to say on it because I don't like it that much, and it boils my. Next, we have. What games do you absolutely refuse to play and why?
Ooh.
There will be some games. I just have to have a little bit of a think.
I don't think I refuse any games, really.
Mine would be,
I mean,
generally, games with really hard platinum trophies.
I usually like venture off of like first person, especially first person shooters. They're really not my cup of tea. But I wouldn't say I'll never play one again.
Yeah.
But probably FPSs.
Mine, I think, actually, would probably be, never say never, but on a whole, fighting games. Like, I do love Mortal Kombat, but I think, generally... Actually, no, that's not true. There's two, actually, I would say, but generally they're really hard platinum trophies, and that does put me off a little bit.
Yeah, they are.
But one thing I do refuse to play actually is racing games. I don't like racing games. So there's no way you'll catch me spending my free time on a racing game.
It depends for me with racing. It has to be a good racing game.
See, nah, I'll too repetitive for me.
I'll grab one every now and then.
Even a good racing game is still just driving a car around a street at speed, and it's just not for me. I know some people absolutely love it. Nah, it's not my cup of tea.
That's fair.
Okay, we're in the last group of the patrons. 3 questions from John Willen. You have more experience with this one, Joel. What was your most memorable rage quitting experience?
Oh, that has to be either Bloodborne. That made me. I'd say Bloodborne. It was the one that made me rage quit for the longest time. Father Gascoigne made me rage quit for 8 months. 8 months straight. I didn't want to touch that game.
I'm not surprised.
It was brutal.
I'm trying to think if there's any games that have really tested my abilities, because there's got to have been some.
You're a really calm gamer, though.
I am pretty calm.
Like, I saw that from your Bloodborne videos. Like I was looking at you like dying sometimes, and I'm thinking to myself, I'd be throwing my controller all over this this office right about now.
It's more like
so composed.
I just get depressed in my head. Is pretty much how it works. Like, to be fair, the thing about Bloodborne is when I first started, I knew I was gonna die. But when I was doing Charles Dungeons, when I did Amygdala, so I've done like an hour video on this. It's about 45 minutes, and it was about 5 hours of footage. And there's about an hour and a half of me playing Amygdala, and I was just sitting there in silence, just like so depressed. I was like, it was getting worse and worse, and I cut it all out because I was like, I'm so angry. But that's kind of like how I vent. I don't like explode. I just sort of get soured and like look really depressed and angry. I think one thing I did struggle with is my hardest platinum trophy is PlayStation VR Worlds, and I think that was so frustrating because it was so like. You have to like bounce this ball back with your head like this, boom, 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 and it's so fast paced, it's so frustrating, and it's like the smallest. It's unfair at times. It feels really unfair, and it's like sometimes you're just missing it by the smallest angle. And I remember being really annoyed with that, like to the point where I was like, just foaming because you stood up as well, so you're like moving. Then you're more stood up, you're more animated, so you've got more like emotions flaring. So as soon as you fail, you're just like losing your absolute mind.
I can relate.
Okay, next question. What is the most frustrating glitch trophy you've ever had, if you've had one?
Oh, yeah.
Go on. No, mine is American Fugitive. So I haven't had many glitch trophies, but American Fugitive, the game crashed and it deleted my entire save. So it's only a 25-hour platinum trophy, but I ended up being like 40 because about 18 hours in, it just completely wiped my save. and because of that, I've started backing up my saves. Lesson learned.
Yeah.
But for me, that was because the game's really bad as well. So the game isn't good, and that was the key thing, and that was just unbearable.
You got a video about this, haven't you?
Yeah.
I remember watching it. I can remember
so
the anger in your voice when you were explaining.
It was very frustrating.
It's probably 2 games for me. Like Mafia 3 was the first one. They had a lot of. It's hard to pinpoint one glitch trophy because there was so many. But it's usually like the miscellaneous ones, like kill 10 enemies with like a Molotov or something.
Yeah.
I think that one glitched out on me. And then the Division 2.
Rammed.
The bounty. You have to get like 11 bounties, and that one glitched on me as well. And the thing is, that glitched on me after I did most of the hardest things on the game. So I completed the game I completed every mission on very hard, all the sieges and everything, like everything hardcore in that game I did. And then I thought I'll just leave the easy, miscellaneous things for the end of the game. And that bounty one glitched on me, and you have to restart the whole game to reset all the bounties. And I was like,
Jesus.
I just put it on the shelf, never again.
Actually, that reminds me. There's one more that I've completely forgotten now to remember, and that is Marvel's Avengers. So I didn't like that game overly much. I ended up playing 120 hours to get the platinum trophy, and that's because you have to do something called a hive mission. So a hive mission is basically it's like a multi-stage level. So you start on like a forest, you then clear the enemies, you go into a factory, clear the enemies, move your way down, and there's 5 levels to the hive, and it's just repeating, killing enemies, repeating down. And it takes about 30 minutes, and there's a trophy, actually about 40 minutes with load screens, and there's a trophy for finishing 50 hives. So as you can imagine, that's already talking probably 30 hours of doing the same garbage. That didn't work, so when the trophy list came out for Marvel's Avengers, it was glitched massively, and I ended up doing about 90 hives to get the trophy. So as you can imagine, it was about 60 hours of just doing this single player by myself. It was a dark time. I watched so many films during that. Honestly, that was probably my most annoying trophy, but it was horrible.
You could have watched the whole of Naruto doing that.
I know, I could have. If only, I've watched so much Naruto now doing other things. It's crazy. I think I could have done it now, but... Okay, next. A trophy that you expected to be very difficult, but then turned out to be very easy. I've got one.
Go on.
This might trigger some people. The trophy for beating the Orphan of Kos on Bloodborne.
Wow.
He wasn't easy, but I beat him first time, so...
Wow.
I did my own research, so I knew it was going to be really hard. So people told us, watch out for the Orphan of Kos, he's going to kill you. So I was like, right, okay, I'm going to watch a video on how to fight him. Just to see how it's done. And then, so rather than learn through dying, I learned through watching. So I just watched this fight scene about 10 times. It was about half an hour of watching this fight scene over and over again. So I learned these moves. So rather than having to reload the screen, die, and worry about me surviving, I could worry about just observing him and learning his fight pattern. So I learned that. And then I went in, and obviously I had finished the whole game. I was fresh out of Child's Dungeons, which were disgustingly hard. I was pretty much at the pinnacle of ability for Bloodborne, so not that people who come back in have to relearn it all again. Like, not only was I was terrible at parrying, but I actually learned to parry. I was good at parrying, and I was good at fighting without it, so I wasn't amazing, but I was good enough at the game. So I went in, and I just took my time. I was really, obviously Bloodborne's very aggressive, but I was very hesitant. I was like, I don't want to get suckered in, just move, and I had so much stamina, and I was just chipping away at them for about 15 minutes, and I was like, I did it. It wasn't easy, but I was expecting it to be like an unobtainable trophy. I was expecting it to be so hard, like a 10 out of 10, and it was probably about 7 out of 10, whereas the Child's Dungeons for me were about 8 out of 10, so it felt not as hard as the main game. So yeah.
That's impressive. I'm impressed.
How much I've grown as a gamer.
You flourished. But from the man who said, I do not like hard games because of the challenge, to the man now who sits and says, I defeated the Orphan of Kos first time. That's impressive.
What can I say? They're amazing games, and they've really opened my eyes to difficult games. I did enjoy them a lot, and I think I am definitely going to be playing them at some point. I think I'm going to go Demon Souls and Sekiro, and then I don't know how I feel about Dark Souls. Just purely because they're going to be a bit older now, not as refined, and a bit slow. I might give them a try. I'll see if I like Demon Souls. I'll give them a go. If I don't like Demon Souls,
if you liked Bloodborne, you like Dark Souls 3. The other two, they are going to feel very clunky and slow, especially Dark Souls. Because Dark Souls 3, give it a go. It's very similar to Bloodborne.
I mean, there's a few like other developers that make similar games, like The Surge and The Surge 2, Neo 1 and 2, Mortal Shell. I do want to give them all a try as well, especially considering Neo 1 and 2 are both on PS5 and so is Mortal Shell, so 60 FPS is very appealing to me at the minute.
Yeah.
What about you, Joel, anyway?
Mine's similar to yours. It's probably going to trigger a lot of people, and it's Dark Souls 3, The Nameless King. Have you heard of The Nameless King?
No, I haven't.
One of the like, he's an optional boss. He's a trophy, but he's an optional boss. You don't have to kill him to beat the game. But he's like the most notoriously hard boss in the main game, in the base game. The DLCs are brutal, but in the base game, he's like the king of the hard, the Nameless King.
Yeah.
I beat him like second time. I almost beat him first time, and I got a bit careless, and I got chopped down. But then the second time I went in, I just destroyed him.
So is he actually? So do you not think he's actually hard at all then?
He's hard. Like he hits really hard, and like a lot of his hits, because he's electric based, a lot of his hits stagger you a bit.
Right.
But he shows what he's gonna do like very easily. Like before he swings, he'll go like that, and you have enough time to know where it's coming from. They're not all of his attacks aren't like that, but you can tell what's about to come if you really look at him. Like a lot of people when playing Dark Souls or Bloodborne, that you're mostly looking at your health and their health, like they're almost dead, and then you get panicky.
That's the worst part, to be fair.
Yeah.
If we're down like this much health, and you're like, I just be aggressive, and then you end up dying. That is.
Yeah.
I feel like it suckers into a false sense of security.
Oh yeah.
And then you just
Big
go
time.
for it and die.
And they do it on purpose. The developers do it on purpose because you get hesitant because you think he's one hit away. But what if I miss? Then I'm one hit away. But yeah, Nameless King is probably similar to your Orphan of Kos. Second time, everybody I was streaming it at the time, and everybody from start of that game to finish, they were always like, "Oh, I can't wait to get to the Nameless King. I can't wait to get to the Nameless King." And then when I did, everyone was like, "I can't believe it. The hoax."
Can't believe you did it. Well, there you have it. Now that is all. That concludes our Patreon questions. We're now going to move on to our YouTube questions. So this is like goes on with that trophy. This goes on quite well with this question we just answered, which is, what advice would you give to someone to get tougher platinums? How do you step up your game to be a trophy hunter?
Persistence.
Yeah,
100%. It has to be persistence. Just be stubborn. When you feel like you want to give up, just don't. Just and learn. Like a lot of people lose themselves. I was very guilty of doing this, and I still do it sometimes. But you lose yourself a lot in your rage. And 9 times out of 10, you don't die because the game kills you. 9 times out of 10, you die because you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Some things you can. There's always cues. There's always either sound cues, movement cues that you can memorize to know what the boss or what the enemy's going to do next. And it's just be persistent. Just learn the game rather than just try and rush through it. Take your time.
I would say as well to know your ability now and to not jump the gun into games that you don't think you could handle. So, for example, I am not very good at first-person shooters, so I just don't play them very often. I'm not saying I couldn't be good. So going off what Joel said, it's persistence. You need to spend the time to develop the skills because every single genre of games is its own set of skill, has its own set of skills. So I think knowing now that I'm not very good at first-person shooters, I'm not going to try an incredibly hard Call of Duty game. Well, yeah, I'm going to try to think, should I really jump into the hardest Call of Duty game for the platinum when it's probably beyond my ability now? So maybe I'll start with an easier one first, build up the skills, and then go from there and like progress. Don't just jump feet first into a really difficult game. That's why I struggle with Devil May Cry 5 is because I'm okay at hack and slash games, but like that's such a hard game. It's kind of like, can you expect to do it? Like Street Fighter 5 is a really hard platinum trophy, so it's like maybe you start with an easier fighter game first, like Tekken or something. It's an easier platinum trophy. Then when you learn the rules, you can then progress on and just build up to the hard games as well. I would say.
Very good. Very solid advice.
Any more? Anything you'd like to add? Or are you happy with that?
I'm happy with that. It's just mostly persistence. I mean, a lot of people give up too early, I think. And it's just the giving up. Like, try not to rage. It's hard not to, especially me. Like, I rage a lot. I got a hold of my desk because I whack my controller. But just try not to. Because the more you rage, the more you lose control. And it's a downward spiral when you do start raging. So keep yourself composed because I find myself sometimes, especially on Devil May Cry 5, like on the highest difficulty, you get hit once, you die.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, I got hit once, I die. You get like 3 retries, but usually if you get hit once, you're locked out of the S rank. and I used to just quit out of the level and retry it from the start. And what I do now is, even if I do get hit, I'll carry it on because I'll start learning the future patterns.
Smart.
And you kind of master. You have to master sort of a level at a time. And I think if you give yourself time to do that, don't rush into a hard platinum because it's only going to give you grief.
I think there's a life lesson there in actually the fact that for most things, like things that are really hard don't come straight away. So it's like you can't be expected to have a really successful start a new career and then be making £1 million a year.
Oh, yeah.
Because you start at the bottom and you work your way up, and it's kind of like perseverance in most things. For things that for like a hard goal, bear in mind you have to put the work in, you have to put the grind in, and that's kind of what being a trophy hunter does teach you a little bit, like to persevere with against something that is difficult and to keep going. Whereas a lot of people would maybe give up. It's teaching you that like ability to persevere, which is awesome. Okay, this is a different direction question, Joel.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on game box art? Do you think it's important what art looks like? And are there things you wish you'd see more or less of on box art?
I don't think nowadays it's as important as it was back then.
Yeah.
Because we have the internet. You can see the game before the box art. I mean, I think, let's put it this way. If you see gameplay like The Witcher 3, and then you go and pick up The Witcher 3, and all the box art was just The Witcher 3, which actually the box art for The Witcher 3 is pretty basic.
Yeah.
That's a great example. You're still going to buy it because you know how good the game is.
Yeah, well, think like when you used to buy a PS2 game, you'd turn the back and there'd be like a paragraph about what the game is, and then you'd have a little art book, and in the book would be like this massive like paragraph as to what the game is. Now it's like you'd flip it over and it's like 2 lines saying what it is because it's changed. But I suppose I'm not too bothered about game art personally. In terms of box art, shall I say? Like I like it. I think it's because box art's always really good, so it's kind of you can't appreciate it because like you not like you buy a AAA game now and be like, oh, this box art's bad, because it's such an important integral part of that like marketing campaign. They have to make sure it's good.
But even like look at my games, look at your games behind you. They're all facing. They're not. You don't see the box art. You just see the back like of it. So is it really that important? To be fair, if they wanted to do anything with box art, they could do like a really cool decal on the back of it. On the rest of the box would be white, with nothing on, and you still wouldn't notice because most of our games, they're all, not many people put them facing forward.
I've got my special edition Spider-Man. That's all you can actually see in the back of this video, facing out, and that's it. And that's actually really plain. It's literally just the symbol of the spider. And that's literally it. So yeah, I feel like to answer the question, we're both a bit indifferent to box art. I'm not really that bothered about that.
No.
Okay, this is a good one. So this applies to both of us. So the question is, what inspired you to make the Platinum Podcast? So I'll ask what inspired me. Then you can answer as to what made you want to do it. So I wanted to do it because I felt like there wasn't. I wanted to talk about trophies in like a informal way, and I think when I made it, there just wasn't any podcasts about people talking specifically about trophies. I mean, we talk about lots of stuff as well, but I felt like I wanted at the time to listen to people talk about trophies while I was playing games. Essentially, is what I wanted, and I didn't think there was something there. I mean, now there's been a few things pop up, which is great, but at the time that wasn't there. I think that's really what I wanted to be the forefront of this channel, was the podcast, and that's pretty much why. On that, so me and Joel, for those who don't know, me and Joel actually didn't know each other until the podcast. So we actually met online and we started speaking about the ideas back and forward, and then we developed in this flourishing friendship which we have now.
Yes.
And I was saying to someone the other day, I speak to Joel probably as much as I speak to my actual friends now.
Same.
We speak to each other like every day.
Yeah.
So, Joel, what made you think this would be a good podcast to guest on or to co-host?
It was pretty much the same thing. Like the friends that I have, although they do like collecting platinums, they're not as hardcore as you, for example. And like having conversations about trophies, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, trophies are cool and this, that, and the other." But I couldn't really like get deep into it, like the struggles. And you know, I spent like 60 hours getting this platinum trophy, and they'd be like, "Well, what'd you do that for? Would you play something else?" And it's like, get it.
That's so
you
true.
Get it.
I agree. Like, I 100% agree. I don't have that many friends who actually game, to be fair.
Do you not?
No, not really.
I have a lot of them that game, but they don't game a lot. Like they're just like casual games, I suppose. They'll pick up the same game and they'll play it, or they'll see like this new game that came out, and then they'll go, okay, I'll play that. And then when they finish it, that's it. They'll never touch it again. I don't really have consistent gamers as friends. And so when I saw it was on Instagram, I think it was, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
You put your story on Instagram. I thought, oh, this could be interesting. And yeah, so I sent you a message, and I was like, if you want to, I was really small back then as well. I had like what 100.
To be fair, I think I only had
maybe?
about 200 though as well. I didn't. I was.
Yeah.
We were just little fish, just wanting to chat about something. And
yeah, that was it. And I think we did a video call before. I think we did a video call just before we recorded the first episode. Which
we did. Yeah,
God, looking back at it now.
Oh, I know.
It's a bit cringy, isn't it?
It is, but you've got to start somewhere. So we had a video call, and to be fair, we did hit off. Considering we'd never spoke before, we hit off quite well.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, we did.
Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened because I have spoken to people in the through this stuff, and I've sometimes thought I probably couldn't have endless conversations with them as we do. So it's worked out well. So I hope that's answered your question. So next is from Wooly, who is an active Discord user. So thank you for submitting this, Wooly, and it is Wooly. It's very specific to Discord. To be fair, when will you do a pick my next platinum in your servers? And can it be Wolfenstein 2? So in the Discord we have a little pick my platinum section. So basically you might pick 3 or 4 games. You can't decide which you want to platinum. You put it in the group and then everyone votes on it. And to be fair, we don't really do it because I like pick my games usually based off like content and stuff. But anyway, at the end of it, he's jokingly, but I've actually already applied, which you can see saying no in terms of Wolfenstein. But Jules, do you think you'll ever go for Wolfenstein the platinum?
No. I've been following Wooly's journey through his journey in Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but he's like bought the German version now, so he's going to do it again.
Maniac.
And it's too much. It's too much. Like going through a whole game. I think you have to go through the whole game on the hardest difficulty without dying.
And no saves.
Or without even getting hit. No saves.
No saves and no dying.
It's just insane. It's insane. It's like no.
Yeah,
no.
I mean,
I won't do it. I'll let Wooly. I will let you have the crown.
Yeah,
and I will happily let you have it.
Wolfenstein King. Okay, next is from our mod from the mod from my Discord, that gamer Scott, and he's asked a really long question. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
So what are your hold on. What are your favourite games from each generation? PS1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, if you have one.
Oh, wow.
We'll work backwards, okay? PS5, I'm just going to say at the minute, Spider-Man Miles Morales. I've only played 2 games, Astro and Miles Morales. So, on
that's
that one.
That's an easy one.
PS4. It's either Spider-Man or Witcher for me.
Yeah,
I might say Spider-Man,
There's a lot to choose from. So many.
Well, it goes back to the whole game of generation thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'll level with you. I mean, although I chose like Nier Automata, I want it to be a bit different.
No, you should choose. Oh yeah, because Dan chose Bloodborne, didn't you? Though, so
Dan chose Bloodborne. I probably I don't know. There's so many great PS4 games. It's a tie between Bloodborne and The Witcher, I think. I only won't say Spider-Man because Spider-Man's yours.
Yeah. Well, we did so for those who haven't watched it, we did a Games of the Generation podcast about 5 months ago now, and we had the Platinumbros on by Nathan and Dan, and we all gave one Game of the Generation and one runner-up, and then we had a collective one. I think we all said it. I think it was like Spider-Man, Bloodborne, Nier Automata, Red Dead 2, and Witcher 3, and then I think we had a few special mentions like Death Stranding.
Yeah.
I think God of War, about 7. Yeah, all of those games are pretty interchangeable. That's just so good, all of them. It is hard to say. PS3. PS3. I didn't play a lot of PS3.
For me, forgotten.
I'm going to say The Last of Us. I think it's the best game on the PS3. It would have been that, or I didn't play a lot of games.
I'm going to say for me, probably Uncharted 2.
No, okay. See,
I didn't play a lot of The Last of Us. I was pretty scared.
I was an Xbox gamer though. In that generation, I was exclusively Xbox until I think what happened was I had an Xbox 360 throughout the whole life cycle, and I got a PS3 at the very end, and I played Uncharted 1 and 2, The Last of Us, and Heavy Rain. I think that's all I played.
Heavy Rain was terrible.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was okay. I think it was a good twist at the end. I was like 16 thinking.
Yeah, the twist at the end was good.
And I was like, wow, this blew my mind because I was so young, and I did enjoy it. PS2.
PS2's probably, for me, it's going to be a tie between Lord of the Rings, Return of the King has to be there.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And probably Final Fantasy X.
Fair enough. I liked Vice City. I liked
I see
Jack 2. I like Jack 2 a lot. I really like Jack 2. And I like Lord of the Rings Return of the King, and there's one more as well. I can't remember. But I think it's such a long time ago at this point. I do struggle.
I like Devil May Cry 3 to mine as well.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Probably my favourite Devil May Cry up to this day.
See, I would actually, maybe I'd drag Devil May Cry 4 to my PS3. I really enjoyed Devil May Cry. But I played it on the Xbox, but I still love Devil May Cry 4. Probably one of my favourite games of all time, Devil May Cry 4. I'm probably going to say draw between Jack 2 and... Oh, then again, Ratchet and Clank as well. I love Ratchet and Clank. I might say...
I never played those for the PS2.
They were so good as a kid, because they were like... I feel like Ratchet and Clank, although it's really good now, it's kind of aged a little bit, it's limited. Whereas back then it was like amazing. Oh, and as well, no, scrap it all. The Warriors on the PS2.
I never played that either.
I replayed that on the PS4 HD remaster. It is brilliant. Rockstar's one. I think it's one of Rockstar's first games.
Yeah.
Like the most brutal combat you've ever played, like cutting people's knives and stuff, people's throats out with knives and stuff. It is so
probably
good.
The foundation for like the GTAs, how they are now.
Had a very generic, like a very small open world where you could run around with your warriors, like 6 people following you around, just absolutely fighting cops, robbing like stores.
That's based on the film as well, isn't it?
The film's good as well. I'm probably going to say that's my favourite PS2 game, The Warriors.
Okay.
Loved it, man. PS1, I haven't got much memory of the PS1. You know, PS1 came out, I was like 10. When it came out, I think it came out like 1998 or something, I was like 5.
Yeah, I was pretty young. I got mine pretty late as well.
The only games I can remember...
My parents were really tight as well, so I never had a lot of PS1 games.
I only remember Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, the only games I can actually remember.
Mine...
And Digimon.
Mine would probably be Rayman. Definitely. That was my first ever game on PS1. I loved it. And Road Rash. Which is the motorbike one.
Oh, okay. I remember you talking about that recently, actually. Yeah.
That's probably my 2 main ones.
I'm going to say, for me, probably just Crash Bandicoot. But 3, I think. Crash 3 is the only one I really remember playing. Okay. This next one's a trophy hunting one. So, a game that you want to platinum but either don't have the skill or don't have the motivation to complete. Mine's Red Dead 2. I just haven't got the motivation to finish it at the minute. Someday I will. But at the moment I can't be bothered to play it. It's a long game. I'm at the point where I've just got to basically finish the story with like 70 gold medals, and then do all the collectibles, and I just cannot be bothered. It's just...
Mine's probably the Dragon Ball Fighters. That's probably...
Wasn't skill or motivation?
Skill. I have the motivation. Well, I have the motivation until I go online and I just meet some beast who just wipes the floor with me, and then my motivation is like I am nowhere near these guys' levels. I've said it before. I think it's the level it is now is you have to really dedicate a lot of time because a lot of people are good at the game. If you want to platinum a fighting game, a new fighting game especially, I'd recommend you do it as quick as possible, where everybody's skill level is like basic. And you have a chance, because once people start building up that skill, it's so difficult.
There you have it. Now this is a generic one, Joel. This question is, do you have a favourite movie and TV show?
Oh, no, not favourite. There's so many to choose from.
I'm going to say I do for both.
Do you?
I mean, obviously I like Spider-Man too, but if you've watched any of my early videos where I use loads of memes, I always use memes from Nacho Libre.
He's the best. I love it.
Yes, you do.
That's because Nacho Libre is one of my favourite films of all time. It is terrible, but it's so funny. It's like such dry humour, and it's like Jack Black at his best, just being an absolute moron. And I watch it pretty much every year, like with some families, like a tradition. We like have a few beers and watch it and just increase at how funny it is. And we still, honestly, like some of my friends will just quote Nacho Libre all of the time. Like, you know, he always says like, "Oh, take it easy." We'll always say that to each other. Yeah. Always say that to each other. I probably say that every day. Honestly, it's such a good film. It's not that great, but it's funny. And TV shows, I do like complicated things. Like True Detective is one of my favorite like crime dramas, but I do prefer comedies. I prefer light-hearted stuff. And I'd probably say in terms of my favorite comedies, it's like The US Office, Peep Show, It's All Sunny in Philadelphia. They're pretty much interchangeable, I'd say.
I can't pick a favorite. There's just a lot of movies that I love. and a lot of series that I love, like TV shows, because anime obviously that falls into that category as well, and there's just so many to choose from. I don't want to make that choice again, like the Dragon Ball, Naruto.
Joe doesn't want to be thrust into the spotlight with such a deep, delving question. Okay, next. What trophy broke you, and is there a reason why you didn't platinum it or 100% it?
Oh, for me, it's got to be Gran Turismo.
How did it break you?
That 1% will always be there on my list. Always.
So is there a reason why you haven't finished it?
Yeah, it's just a simulation. I'm just terrible at driving. I don't even have a driving license yet. That's why.
Joe doesn't even know how to change gears. Okay, so you can't.
I don't even know how to. What's a clutch?
Don't know.
I did the clutch. Was like, got chickens around here or what's going on? Yeah, it's just Gran Turismo.
I'm probably gonna say Crash Bandicoot 1. Because
you don't think you'll ever platinum it?
I might, but I probably will at some point. But I just think that when I played at the time, I thought, "Oh my god, this game's so hard!" Like I was just so new in my PS4 account. I had it was like 2017 when I played it. I was like, I'll get Uncharted, I'll get Infamous, I'll get Crash Bandicoot, I'll have a great time. Had a great time with those first two, and then I played Crash, and I was like, "Wow, this game's so hard!" Like I don't remember being this disgustingly brutal and merciless.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I won't go back, but if I do, it'd be like one hell of a commitment because I want to do the Stormy Ascent as well, which is like the DLC, which is like disgustingly hard. And I remember playing the High Road, is it called, where you jump across the bridge. I was just like, nah.
On the Road to Nowhere, I think the other one. There's
not,
2, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got stuck in the first one.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I won't ever do it, but at the time I was like, oh, nah. And I've just not looked at it since like over 2 years. 3 years at this point, that's been a stain on my account.
Okay.
Not good.
No.
Okay, next question. The game that truly got you interested into the hobby of gaming. Like, was there a moment when you were playing it where you thought, this is like going to draw me into gaming? I think you got to go back to the PS2 generation.
Yeah.
You know, actually, no. I'm going to go back and say mine was probably Pokemon. Pokemon was the first stuff I played as a kid. Like, when I was a kid, yeah, PS1 was out, but my parents used to just give us handhelds because we didn't have TVs and stuff. So me and my brother would just play Game Boys all the time. And pretty much all we'd play was, like, racing games, like little platformers and Pokemon. And the Pokemon was just so leagues above it. Now, the first game I really ever played was Pokemon Yellow. I think as soon as I played that, I was like 7 and I knew I was going to just loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say Pokemon's quite a big contender. I'd say either Pokemon or Tetris.
Tetris?
I was still in the age where my mom couldn't afford a Game Boy because Game Boys back then were like £100.
So expensive.
They're well expensive. And I was like, oh, I want a Game Boy because all my friends have it. And she's like, okay, I'll get you a Game Boy. Like, obviously in her head, she had no idea what this thing was. And I was like, we went to, I think it was Woolworths.
Woolworths, wow.
Went to Woolworths. I was like, oh, here's a Game Boy. I'll have this purple one. She was like, £100. Boy, you out of your mind. It was like, no, I'm not getting you that. And I was like, woo, crying and everything.
It was expensive.
And then like two weeks later, she got me one of those like handheld, Game Boy replica things that just had Tetris on it. I used to just spend hours playing Tetris, like hours. We used to fight. My sister used to fight with me because she oh, I want to have a go. And I was like, leave me alone, it's mine.
It's my Tetris game.
Hours.
It's crazy to think when you're a kid, you just do the most basic stuff for just hours.
Yeah.
I used to just walk around is it Verdant Forest, the first forest? And I got my Pidgey to level a Pidgeot in the first area.
Oh my god!
So I was like rocked up against Brock with like he was like had his Onyx and I had like level 50 Pidgeot.
just wiping the floor with him.
But I didn't understood. I was like playing through it for like must be like a year, and then I wasn't holding. This kid was like, you can go out the forest. I was like, oh, can I? Yeah. You gonna fight the boss? I was like, all right, okay. Just like level 12 Onyx.
You just thought that was the game, just the forest.
I generally did. I was 7.
Is the game.
So I just spent my whole time just walking up and down the forest, like killing caterpies for like literally like probably 150 hours or something ridiculous.
Did you catch any?
I can't remember.
Did you have Pokeballs back then? I can't remember if you had
Pokeballs. Yeah, I think I had like Pikachu and a Pidgeot. Pidgeot just
you
wrecked.
would have done, yeah.
Okay, here's another question. What gives you the motivation to go for platinums? Some of your plats require dedication. What keeps you going?
It's changed now.
Okay.
Before I had the channel, it was probably being better than people on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd sometimes had random people that had like a higher score than me just to thrive to be better than someone. But I think now with the channel, I think it's just to create guides, just to help other people out, just to like, if I can take off some of the struggles that I go through to platinum some games, like Persona 5, for example, that was a hell of a struggle. If I can like chip some of that time off or some of the like grind off to help other people, I think that's probably the motivation.
Very
that gives me more motivation.
I don't know what mine is. I feel like it's just a compulsion. Like I've always wanted to complete things.
You like collecting a lot of things. Like, oh, not collecting a lot of things, but you like the numbers.
Yeah, I do.
You love your numbers and your percentages.
I was always like on Xbox, so 360 and then Xbox One. I was always a bit like I would always play the game to the natural conclusion, and I'd probably spend like a little bit longer going for the the achievements. I'd never finish games 100%, but I always thought like I always wanted to, but could never be bothered. So I mean, when I made a PlayStation account, I was like, I'm gonna do what I want to do on Xbox, which I just never did, which was finish games. And I do like to finish games, and then obviously I was like, oh, trophies. Oh, there's these games that give you really easy trophies. Oh, dopamine in my head. Oh, keep going. So yeah, I'd probably say that. I think in terms of dedication for like the longer games, I think it's just you gotta play them for the right reasons. Like I wouldn't ever just start a random RPG that I know I'm gonna struggle with. Like that's why sometimes like if I'm gonna go for a JRPG or something, I've got to be in the right mindset. I've got to be ready. Like I'm gonna play Yakuza 0 soon. 150-hour platinum, like, but I need to be in the right mindset to do it. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like, oh, well, I am gonna drop off. So I think it's just, it's hard to describe dedication.
That hole you're gonna jump into, though, man, because as soon as you do Yakuza 0, the others, you'll want to follow up on the others. You want the collection.
Oh, I'm thinking if I do Yakuza 0,
hardcore.
And then 1 and 2 at Kiwami, and then Judgment, and then by then, Yakuza 3 Kiwami will be out. So I think I might just do it then that way, but. I'm gonna limit myself to 1 Yakuza game a year because you just don't have.
That's a good idea.
Because it's not the time. These games, 150 hours, is literally like 2 months of gaming for me. So it's like I couldn't just keep. Some people go through it, which is impressive to go through them endlessly. But if I was to go through the Yakuza, it would literally be like probably a 3-year commitment. It's like I'd always have 3 years playing games. Maybe
just playing Yakuza as well.
Yeah, maybe not. Okay, next question. It's a bit of a weird one. I kept it in. Do you guys think it is possible to get every single PlayStation trophy in about 60 or 70 years?
Every single one.
I'm going to say...
That's 3 generations now.
Because
every single one.
Yeah.
No, go on.
A lot of them are unobtainable now anyway. So you couldn't. And I think at the rate that the games get released, you're getting like a couple of games released every single day. That if they stopped existing, if Sony stopped existing in 30 years' time, then yeah. But I don't think you could. Like, just think, for example, like Street Fighter 5. It's like you have to skill dependence. You have to spend like 2-3 months in Devil May Cry, like months at a time practicing these games. By the time you platinum Devil May Cry 5, there'll be like 50 to 60 games that have come out. So you probably by yourself, no, I don't think so. Even like a team of 10 people would probably struggle to finish every game. So
that's no. I don't think it's possible. Even taking off. Even let's say for some miracle, everybody, or Sony now said, all unobtainable trophies, all the servers are now open. No, it's still, and then you got the stacks as well. Because if you're talking about every single game, every single game, every single stack.
So you have to learn Japanese then, if that was the case, because a lot of games are in Japanese. So probably not by yourself. Okay, next question. Which games do you consider to have a perfect trophy list?
Oh, perfect.
I don't think there's a perfect trophy list, personally.
There isn't.
I think
not. It's close to perfect.
When you look at games that have a very, very high percentage of players who earn the Platinum Trophy, that tends to suggest that the Platinum Trophy list is good. So games like Ghost of Tsushima, Marvel Spider-Man, I think these games, they're accessible to all players, and I think that makes them a good trophy list. And I do think Marvel Spider-Man is one of the best trophy lists I've played. And not because of easiness, just because I think it is easy, it's accessible, but also it's like nothing's too grindy. Yes, the crimes are a bit much, but generally it's all like it doesn't require too much of one thing.
It's a very relative question.
It is.
It goes down to like what's a perfect trophy list for you?
Yeah.
Like different people have different opinions. For me, I don't think there is a perfect trophy list. There's close to perfect. The Witcher 3 comes pretty close to being perfect because I like a challenge, I like hard difficulties, but I also like balanced hard difficulties that it's not unfair, and The Witcher does that perfectly. When you go on Deathmatch, yes, enemies do hit harder, and you have you take a lot more damage, but it's not unfair. You have to think like a Witcher. You have to master the combat. You just have to do your job as a Witcher. But the thing that lets that list down is the missables. There's too many missable trophies for the length of game that it is. Too many missables.
For me, I just don't like missable trophies, and I don't like random generated trophies. So, for example, in Borderlands 2, you have to find Jimmy Jenkins, and he's like random spawn, and he could appear. I think I got in a 70-hour game. He appeared once in my co-op player, killed him, and so they got a trophy. So you're looking at like one spawn in 70 hours. So there is certain areas where you can get them to spawn more, but the idea is that ultimately it's just random generated trophies are just disgusting. And then, I mean, I know online trophies that people don't like, but I think sometimes they do serve a purpose. I wouldn't want them to be gone in every single game. Like a Street Fighter game is going to need online trophies, but missables and random generated trophies, no thanks. This is a weird one. I'm going to keep it in. I don't know how we're going to answer this one.
Okay.
Have you ever associated a particular smell with a video game? Like mine was aloe vera balm for washing my clothes when playing Horizon Zero Dawn.
Where'd you have your washing machine?
I don't know.
Was the washing machine in the living room? Or?
I don't know.
That's a weird one.
I don't think
That's
so.
a very weird one. I don't think I could associate any smell to a video game.
I can't either. No, I can't, unfortunately.
I mean, I suppose smell of
death. You play Bloodborne.
wherever you're playing, I suppose. Like if you have like one of those like smelly things. Like Emma puts like some of the the plugins, the smelly plugins every now and then in my office because I never open a window and she's like, it stinks in here. So I don't know, maybe
so just male sweat.
Maybe just one of those. I don't know. I can't say I could associate any smell to video games. No.
Okay, so next is it's another one from Tony Pepper, who I believe is T Pepper. He was actually our Hall of Fame Platinum Trophy, best trophy list reviewed on my trophy list series.
Very nice.
So he has a philosophical question. He said, "Dan, it's going to cut deep this one. Do you ever think that the time you spent gaming could have been better spent to make more of yourself in the real world?" Man, why you ask such deep, depressing questions?
Thinking of it logically, yes. I could have taken like multiple degrees with the amount of hours I've spent in gaming, but would it have been something that I would have enjoyed doing? Probably not.
I suppose you could apply this to everything, couldn't you? Like, have you to any hobby? Like, are you spending too much time on your hobbies? I suppose, and I don't know, like. Maybe at university, I don't know. I feel like as a kid,
Joe Rogan, doesn't it?
Yeah, as a kid, I think you have all this free time. I don't think I spent too much time playing on video games.
No, I don't.
And at uni, I had a lot more free time, but I still was working 20 hours a week. At university, 25 hours a week, and then now I feel like I don't know, because I feel like now I don't game as much as I would have. Like say last year, actually, I'm gonna look back and say a couple of years ago, yeah. Like when I was just gotten the first full-time work, I was probably gaming like 30 hours a week on my free time, and I probably could have been doing something better with that. Maybe like half of it. Maybe maybe instead of spending 30 hours, I could spend 20 hours and then spend time making a YouTube channel. But now I think I balance it a lot better now. I think you got to have your hobbies. You got to have things that make you happy, and I think cutting everything out, you got to do things you enjoy. And I think if it's something you enjoy, as long as if you're doing it in excess, like if I was gaming 80 hours a week, I would know that's probably a problem.
I mean, I think I've got a pretty fulfilling life. It's not a perfect life. I mean, I'm not, I'm not filthy rich or anything that I can do whatever I want when I want. But I'm happy. Like I'm happy with my partner. I'm happy with the flat I got at the moment. I'm happy with my things. I'm happy with how life is. I suppose. I think, could I have spent time doing other things? Yeah, I mean. I could have spent time doing other things when, I was sleeping, I suppose. Should I stop sleeping to study?
Hindsight is a horrible thing. Like, have you seen in South Park, they create a character called Captain Hindsight, and he turns up when something's happened horribly, and he tells them how they could have avoided the problem, and then flies away, and everyone's like, "Thank you, Mr. Dr. Captain Hindsight." It's like, it's an oil spill. He's like, "You should have not, that ship shouldn't have been there, and there wouldn't have been an oil spill." And they're like, "Yeah, thank you, Captain Hindsight." So... yeah, hindsight's like a curse and a privilege, I suppose. You can learn from it, but also it can make you reflect negatively.
I don't like looking back.
Thank you for
I don't like
bumming us
looking
out
back.
anyway, T Pepper. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't like looking back because if you look back too much, you're gonna be thinking of what could have been, and you can't change the past. So just look forward.
Live in the present.
Live in the present.
You know, as
and
the elder from Kung Fu Panda says, present is called
for the near future.
The present for a future because it's a present. Live in the future. Live in the present. Okay, next question from Shadowwood. What game did you buy or download and regret it?
Monster Hunter World.
What? It's a great game? Why did you regret it?
I only got it for peer pressure because so many people said it was so good and a lot of friends were playing it. I enjoyed the first I'd say I enjoyed like the time I played with it whilst I was playing the story, but then after that I tried going for the platinum and it's
the platinum is disgusting.
It's disgustingly long.
I think fair enough. Yeah, mine's Avengers. Like, you know, I didn't think it was a good game. I knew it was gonna be bad, and I bought it, and I was like, oh well, shock. It's terrible.
Self-explanatory.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, next one is a comic book question.
Okay.
We're probably only gonna have time for another 3 or 4 questions, I think. Do you like DC series, DC comics?
Some.
Yeah,
some
same. I prefer Marvel. But it's not to say I don't like DC. I don't read comics anymore. I'm past that stage in my life, and then not to say I'll go back. But I like the DC films. I don't think they're as good. I think they've got as much potential. I think Batman by himself is probably the best character. I think it thinks of like in terms of like villains, especially. He's got the best villains of all superheroes.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, but I think Marvel tells the joint story of Avengers so much better. The Justice League nowhere near as popular as the Avengers, but on a whole, it's decent. I would say.
I mean, still, whilst you're deciding, still on the DC thing. I think a lot of people are always saying like, "Oh, which that has the best superheroes? Is it Marvel or is it DC?" But the real question is like, who has the best villains? I think DC has the best villains compared to Marvel.
Yeah,
I think Joker.
Oh, he's so good.
Probably the best, if not the best, one of the best, and maybe like close second, villain like ever.
I think I would agree. He's the best villain
ever because he's a psycho.
Yeah,
he's not even a villain though, is he? Really, he's a villain because he's evil, but he's just a psycho. He just wants to watch the world burn. He doesn't care how he does it.
Versions of the Joker, and it's like I think it's a mystery around him. They've never ever revealed. They've revealed his name like twice, but every time they've went back on it because I think the mystery of who he is kind of what makes him so. Another part of what makes him so interesting, and I think you don't know what's going on behind the mask, like behind the face, because he's so clever but so evil. He does such evil things. It's really, really fascinating. Okay, next question from Tibby Costi. Is there a game you wish you could have played but haven't started on your account because you think you can't get the platinum? So many games.
Oh, there's a few. There is quite a few.
GTA 5, Devil May Cry 4 and 5. For me, I really wanted to play both of those. I played Devil May Cry 4. I will play Devil May Cry 5, but I'm probably going to play it on another account because I don't want it, because I won't be able to platinum it. I don't think I've got the ability. I haven't got the perseverance for it, at least, to do. They're the big ones for me, I would have said.
Yeah, for me, it's Wolfenstein now because, you know, the Woolies like open up that bug. But I'll never play it. It's too much. It's too much. It's too difficult. And a game I probably regret not playing is probably Max Payne. Max Payne 3. Yeah. And that's another one because the platinum is just insane.
I did play it on the Xbox. It's a really, really good game. Really good.
I've heard that because I like the bullet time where you slow down time.
Yeah, so cool.
I love that.
It's just it was ahead of its time. It's a shame that they haven't kept it going because it was so good, and like, you know, you could like run and like do all the dives and stuff. It was so complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm sure you could like jump on a table and like I think you could like jump on a table and you'd like slide on the table shooting people. It was badass. I think you could.
Games that do that is great. I think the first game I ever saw that was True Crime. Remember True Crime? I think that was what
True
Sleeping
Crime like
Dogs
LA,
was meant
True
to be.
Crime New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those games.
That was the first time I saw Bullet Time there. Then Sleeping Dogs did it.
Yeah. I like True Crime New York. That was really good.
It was good.
It was really good. You could run, get your
bag
up, like, give it your car.
Yeah. And that was another one that was it had the martial arts thing.
Yeah. It was hard though, wasn't it? I remember that was PS2. Yeah. That should have been your PS2 game.
It should have
been.
I would love
a remaster of True Crime, to be fair.
I forgot about it. I think it's Sleeping Dogs though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I
like,
think that's what it was. It's the same creators.
Yeah, it was going to be True
And
Crime
then
Hong
they made-
Kong. No, I think what happened was they were making it, then the company went under, and another company bought the IP and changed it to Sleeping Dogs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next question says from ZI is,
Okay.
do you have any plans for your 1,000th platinum trophy? So on that, we'll say for you, Joel, do you have any plans for your 100th platinum trophy?
Yeah, I think I'm going to do Devil May Cry 5.
Obviously,
I'll
you've got to
save
do
it.
it. You're about 90 now, aren't you?
No.
70.
Well, close. 87.
So 30. You got to fill that
Close
up
to
with
90.
12 more games
30.
first, though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but there's a few on my list. Like all the PS Plus games.
Yeah.
They're releasing so many games that are on my backlog. So I've not played Concrete Genie yet. That's pretty fast. Control's pretty fast.
You got
Remnant from the Ashes. I'll do with a bunch of people as well.
You got Dragon Ball Z Kakarot as well. You haven't done.
Yeah, Kakarot, Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, fair.
I've got quite a few.
Okay.
But I think I'll play Devil May Cry 5 until I'm like at the limit, and then I'll play all the other games, and I'll pop it when I get to 100.
I think 1,000 platinum trophies is so far away for me. Like my 500th going to be Spider-Man Remastered. I've got that planned. I don't know what my 450th is. It might be Yakuza 0, or it might just be like Ghost of Tsushima or something. If I enjoy it that much. I don't know about 1,000. I think realistically 1,000 platinums isn't that far away. It's probably like 4 years away. I think maybe under 4, maybe 3 to 4 years, depending on if I keep playing the way I'm playing. I think 1,000 might be where I stop the easy games though. I was going to start at 500, but I thought 4,000 would be good. So I'd stop at 1,000 trophies. Because then as well, if I start at 1,000 platinums, I'd have like my level will be 999 on my PSN number. And I think I'd like to have it 999, and then from there I could maybe stop. I think you only need about 900 platinums to get there. But so it'll have to be a big game. It might be, I don't know, if it should just be like a Spider-Man game or something. Wait, there'll be more Spider-Man games, or maybe it's like Skyrim VR or something.
Spider-Man 2 will probably be out by then.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, but I'll probably play that at launch. So that might be like my 600 or 700 platinum, because that'll be out next year. So
yeah.
If it'll be announced this year, it might, because Miles Morales was 2020. I can see Spider-Man 2 being 2022.
2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll do one more, Joel.
Okay.
One more question. Let's have a little bit of a look, see what we can ask. Okay, so this is a question that's just so savage to me. It's actually a question for me and a question for Joel. Okay, different questions. So, the question for me is just such a backhanded question. What satisfaction do you get from playing a lot of easy games that require very minimal challenge?
Who asked that?
Michael McIntyre.
Well done, Michael. I like you.
It's a good question. I'm a completionist. I like to see numbers. I enjoy playing easier games. I do play bigger games, but I feel like rather than just play, say, Joel's playing Devil May Cry, I would play that game alongside easier games. So sometimes, I find it quite relaxing to play a game that I can passively play and do something else. So I have 2 screens. I've got one as I'm using right now, my gaming screen. So a lot of times I will play something really easy and I'll watch TV at the same time. So I feel like it's quite relaxing to play something that doesn't require a lot of attention. And that's why I keep coming back to them. So even though some of them are terrible, it's like cathartic. Cathartic, that's a word. Cathartic. A word.
Yeah.
When I'm playing through, just relaxing, having an easy time. I can deal with other games as well, but then obviously I do like platinum trophies, so I like earning them and I like moving up the leaderboards. And I'm quite a competitive person. As much as I think it's quite pointless competitiveness, you do things for you, and I think I enjoy seeing myself go to leaderboards. I enjoy the challenge of a harder game, but I also don't mind an easier one. So I suppose it's kind of like that's the satisfaction I get. And it's kind of satisfaction for things long term has got to be from within. You do things because you enjoy them. It's not approval of others or anything like that, because that's like a false sense of satisfaction. You need to do things that you enjoy, and I think realistically, if I just did it for the leaderboards, I probably wouldn't do it as much as I do, and it's something within. I probably can't get across directly why I like doing it so much, but that's probably the best way I can describe it.
Some within you that you like. Well, the thing is though, you like the numbers, and you like the leaderboards, and the thing is, in order to rank up, we spoke about this loads. In order to rank up in those leaderboards, you have to do the easy games, because if you spend 100 hours on a game, those 100 hours you could have platinumed
exactly.
101 hour game, 101 hour platinums.
And I would like to be in the top 100 in the UK. I think that would be quite an achievement.
That would be impressive.
I think I'd like to be in the top 100, then I'd probably like stop going for it and just maintain that. So maybe I have to do like an easy platinum, 2 easy platinums a month just to maintain my top 100.
Yeah.
I would like to say at least I've gotten top 100 at least once, and I'm not that far from. I'm like 280th or something now. So like I think probably another 200 platinums I probably would be top. So
do you ever go into PSN profiles and see like what score the people above you have?
Not loads, but probably do once a month, I'd say. Usually when I do my video where I do a monthly update, I usually have a little bit of a deep dive as to where I am, or say I do a day where I join, say sometimes I'll earn like 4 platinums in a day, and I'll be like, I'll just see where I would be.
Yeah.
And I think it's about 800 platinums to be in top 100. Maybe a little bit more. But obviously bear in mind, if it takes you a year to get there, everyone who has 800 will probably have 1,000. So you're probably looking at about 1,000 platinums to be the top.
It's an endless grind.
It is, that's the thing. So it's like you kind of can't do it because for that alone, you have to do it because you want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that, Joel, your question, which is the final question of the whole episode, is what was the hardest game you've gained the platinum for? And are there any hard games you would suggest to players to platinum? Not including Bloodborne. It specifically says that.
It specifically says not including Bloodborne.
Can't say Bloodborne.
Okay. The hardest. Because I've got a few that were hard for me, I can't really put one that was the hardest because they're all hard in their own category.
Yeah.
The Witcher 3 was pretty hard because of the early in the game when you have to. There's a mission where you have to kill a werewolf.
Yeah.
And in Deathmarch, the werewolf, it regenerates health. And I didn't really go in prepared. And
got wrecked.
That's the thing, I didn't really get wrecked because I was able to like dodge the attacks, but it was just an endless fight because he would regenerate faster than the damage I'd give him. So I was like 15 minutes just stuck on this werewolf, just dodging and attacking. Like I was doing pretty much no damage because he was always regenerating. So that was hard in that aspect. Then obviously Sekiro was hard getting to the mechanics, and obviously the Demon of Hatred was pretty hard. The Kingdom Hearts games were just hard because of the grind. It's just they're so grindy. The hardest. I think the hardest is gonna be Devil May Cry 5. I can say that.
I mean that's probably in the top hardest, probably top 10 hardest platinum trophies on PlayStation 5.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be
top 20.
I mean, I'm on like mission 5, and it's already given me much more of a challenge than any other game up to this point.
There's 20 missions, isn't there, as well?
Yeah, well, 21 if you include the prologue.
So you're a quarter of the way.
Fine.
What about this then? Is there any hard games you recommend for a newcomer who wants to get into the hard game sort of scene?
Oh yeah,
that's not Bloodborne. There we go. Sleeves are rolled.
Sekiro, Neo. If you like anime, Code Vein, give it a go. It's not the best one, but it's decent. The Witcher 3, definitely.
Always recommend that.
Always recommend The Witcher 3. And Dark Souls. If you don't mind clunkiness, try all the Dark Souls. If you're not really a big fan of the clunkiness, then Dark Souls 3.
Don't play Dark Souls 2.
Dark Souls 2 is terrible.
Savage.
Dark Souls 2 is terrible.
What about a game that isn't a Soulsborne that you think? Is there any hard games that aren't Soulsborne that you recommend other than Witcher 3?
Oh, that's the thing that I recommend. Like the hard games that aren't Soulsborne, they were just annoying hard.
Like Red Dead,
like Kingdom Hearts. Red Dead was a grind and a half. See, Red Dead wasn't really hard. It was more of the grind of how long it took to do things.
I suppose if you're going to play a hard game, you want to play a game that's built to be hard because it's been built that way. So it's like some games that just have a hard difficulty on them, then they're maybe not balanced properly. Whereas like Soulsborne games are built to be difficult. There's only one difficulty. And they spend so much time working on it, leveling it, balancing it. In most cases, other maybe Dark Souls 2, but generally, From Software have mastered the hard game. So you kind of want to play one of those, dude. And that wraps up our Q&A. There's a few questions we haven't had time to get through because I knew we were going to spark some conversations. So I would like to thank everybody who submitted a question. It's made a really good, fun podcast to make. I hope you've enjoyed listening to it. Do you have any final thoughts, Joel?
So just touching on that question really got to me. That what could you have done with your time that you've been spent gaming. Like that has got deep. Like,
we're gonna go cry in the shower after this.
I was like, I'm gonna like meditate and just
reflect on
all
life.
The things. Where could I be right now?
Joel's gonna just sit with his hands on his head for the rest of the day. It's like, what else could I have done with my life?
What have I done with my life? Just as long as you enjoy what you do, it's not a waste. It's never a waste of time. It's only a waste of time if you're doing things that you're not enjoying doing. That's definitely a waste of time. And we've all got like a limited amount of time on this earth, so just do what you love doing.
You do you, bro. You do you. And on that, we'll wrap things up. Thank you very much for watching us here at the Platinum Podcast. Finally, just to say, if you're at the end now, we have to go check out our anime podcast as well. Link down below. And you can hear us talk about Naruto. And we're going to have a new episode coming out in the coming weeks, talking about a brand new, very recent anime, which is pretty good. So on that, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and take it easy.
Bye-bye.